Hey YouTube, Audio Olympian here, back with another video coming to you from the Coliseum. So today's video we're going to be talking about the Parasound JC1 Monoblock amplifiers. So if this is your first time visiting our channel and you find this video informative or even just a little entertaining, if you could hit that thumbs up, we'd really appreciate the support. Don't forget you can also follow us on Instagram at Audio Olympian. Okay, before we get into the video, I just want to clarify, this is going to be a little longer than my normal video because I have a lot to talk about with these amplifiers. I've been playing with them for well over a week now, having tons of fun, so I wanted to cover a lot of details of things that I've been going over with and experiencing and finding out with these new amplifiers. At the end of the video, I'm going to put some music clips there just so you can get a chance to see these amplifiers come alive if that's something you're interested in. So stick around to the end and you can watch some music clips, or you can just fast forward to that part there. Also, keep in mind you always want to check things out in person for yourself. Everything that I'm going to cover here is basically just my own opinion and my experience that I'm getting with it here with my setup and my room. So it's going to be very different for you. So what led me to get these amplifiers here, I kind of been on the hunt. I was looking for Class A amplifier just because I was interested in the sound there. And I originally had my idea set on a Parasound amplifier, Class A amplifier. I came across some Jeff Rowland videos of our amplifiers that were very, very interesting, and I like those. However, those can be very pricey, even considering the cost of Parasound amp. None of this stuff is very, very cheap. So in looking and looking and looking, but anytime I'm going to make a purchase, this is something personal with me. I try to make a purchase of something that I don't have. To me, it never made sense if I'm just going to make a lateral move to something maybe just newer. I want to try to add something into my collection here that I don't have or I'm not used to. So in doing that and finding out things, I came across these Parasound JC1s. Now, this isn't a strict Class A amplifier. It is Class A up to the first few watts. I believe it's like 20 or 25 watts. Then from there, it'll push over to Class AB, but will actually extend up to 400 watts per channel. And they happen to be monoblocks. The Parasound amp I was looking at was just a stereo amplifier. So I've always preferred monoblocks if I'm going to be able to use those in my setup. You're just going to get, I feel you're always going to get better performance when each amplifier has its own power supply and power source. So I'm going to get better performance to each speaker. I figure if you can afford it and it's in your budget, if you have two speakers, you may as well have two separate amplifiers so that you can get close to its full potential. So as I came across these, there wasn't a whole lot out there on video-wise on these amplifiers, and it's probably because they came out in early 2000s. But they're widely renowned, highly regarded, very prestigious amplifier. And they've been in production up until as recently, I want to say, I think 2019, maybe even 2020. They obviously do have the new amplifier that replaced it now, which is the JC1 Plus. And of course, I would love that one, but just $16,000 for a pair of those is not in my wheelhouse right now. So I decided to camp on these ones here. Now, I got a really good price and rate on these from the Music Room. That is a online selling store over in Colorado. Some of you might be familiar with it. If not, I'm going to put the link down in the description below. Go check them out. They specialize in the resale of a lot of high-end products. And I believe you can also trade in equipment for them. It was great dealing with them. They're a great company, great customer service, very fast shipping, and it was packaged very well. So I highly recommend them if you're looking for, you're the type of person that likes to engage in used equipment and gear out there. Okay, so a little bit on the amplifiers here. These are the Parasound JC1 monoblock amplifiers. And what the JC stands for is John Curl. He's the legendary designer of these awesome amplifiers here. The other bonus that came along with these is they are THX certified, which means you can use them in your home theater, which any amp you can use in your home theater. But the THX certification is a little bit of something from the past, but what that means is that particular item met a certain level of criteria for sound quality that THX says, okay, we'll put our stamp of approval on it. I believe as of right now, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that has a THX certification currently is some speakers by Monoprice. They have a 5-speaker setup that are THX certified speakers. Now, these are rated at 400 watts each. I was going to say per channel, but it's a monoblock, so they only have one channel on there. But they are rated at 400 watts each, with the first 25 watts, I believe, running in Class A sound. Now, after that, if it jumps above that, then it'll push to the other 400 watts, which I believe is going to be in Class AB sound. So this was one of the main reasons I made a purchase on these here, because I really wanted to get that Class A sound, or I just at least wanted to hear it. But I also like power. And anytime I'm going to make a purchase and I want to add something into my collection, I always want to try to add something in that I don't have. Because to me, it never makes sense to just make a lateral move, or even just a lateral move on something newer. Maybe it's just more up to date, right? The technology is going to be more current and possibly better, but it's still just a lateral move. I've been wanting a Class A amplifier for quite some time, and I thought, well, let me try this. Now, I do have some amplifiers. I have the Emotiva XPA-1Ls, which are very similar setup here. It's a 250 watt amplifier with the first 20 watts again, maybe even 30 watts, somewhere around there. I'd have to look that up, running in Class A sound. But this is a much smaller amp. They are monoblocks, and they do sound really good, and they sound great. And I use them in my system upstairs. So I thought, this is a bigger, more robust amplifier with a much bigger price tag on it. I'm assuming the performance of it is going to be higher quality. And yes, I was accurate in assuming that, because those small Emotivas don't even hold a candle to this in terms of sound quality there. So the other thing I do like on these, one thing I haven't tried out yet, is there are 2 binding posts in the back, so that way you can connect a speaker that has that's bi-wireable. So if you have a speaker that can connect 2 sets of speaker cables to it, you'll get amplification to, it's the same signal, it's not going to change it, but it's going to be amplification to your tweeter and then your mid-range or mid-bass or even low-end section on your speakers. Okay, so getting into some of the things that I've been doing lately and why I'm so excited about these. Yes, they are older model, but the main reason I made a purchase on these for the age here is they have stood the test of time. These have been recently in production up until, as I mentioned, maybe 2019, even maybe 2020. Most companies, most product lines don't last that long. They either stop producing them, start making changes right away, but these things have been around for quite some time. So to me, that speaks volumes as far as its quality level. So once I got them and set them up, I'll add here, once you have high-end, higher quality components added into your system, that now is going to bring in full life and take all the other components of your system up to a new level. It's because these amps are beefy. They do have very, very good bottom end punch to it. More so than any other solid state amp that I've had with the Prima Luna amp. So I get very good high clarity vocals, good definition, very open, airy sound with the tube preamp, and monster power here with my amplifiers and the speakers. So these do run hot. They are Class A, and Class A amplifiers are known to run hot, but not unbearable hot. I could still put my hand on it or even hold my hand above it, and you can feel the heat that's coming up from it. but it wasn't the type of heat that you could fry an egg on. I've heard some amplifiers can get that hot. These are not like that. The other bonus thing about it that I did notice is as soon as I turned them off, they cooled off very, very quickly. So that was a good thing. So they didn't stay hot for a really long time. Bear with me if I'm repeating myself. But the sound of these is very, very close, again, to tube amplifier. Although my Crimson 275 tube amp is a little warmer sounding. And that's really the biggest difference between the two. It just has a little more warmth to it. And that's, to me, has more comforting sound, more calming. So maybe on some days where I don't want to be super hyped up, just want to mellow and listen to my mellow music that way, I'll connect and hook up to my tube amplifier. Now, getting into some of the features, the Parasound amplifiers do have XLR inputs and RCA regular interconnect inputs. Unfortunately, my Prima Luna does not have an XLR output, just RCA. However, my Freya preamplifier does have XLR output. So I was very curious. I wanted to see if that sound was going to be any better. So I hooked that up and I did hear a difference, but not necessarily in a good way. The Prima Luna interconnect did still sound better, more clean, more dynamic than the Freya XLR inputs. Well, output their input into the Parasound. So I was a little shocked on that. I was thinking the XLR input from the Freya was going to give me another notch up in the sound, or at least match my sound that I could get off of the Prima Luna, but it didn't happen that way. It was still a couple of levels below it. So in that one, in that comparison there of interconnect versus XLR, I'm still going to go with the Prima Luna on that one. Now, I am possibly looking at adding in a Parasound preamplifier, maybe the JC2, JC3, somewhere in there, because those have XLR output. So I figure from a more high-end, robust preamplifier with XLR output, I might get some better sound or a different sound with that. So up until this point, I still was just kind of streaming my music from my laptop, not necessarily streaming, I have it hooked up, but from my laptop through my Emotiva Big Ego DAC into the Prima Luna. So I decided, well, let's go full CD, full retro out there for you guys. And I hooked up my Sony CD player. And playing the CDs, that again took the sound level from these amplifiers up to another level again. So strong, very dynamic, fast, tight, quick. The agility when you get the stereo effect here of music and instruments bouncing back and forth left to right was just phenomenal. The sound stage made it sound so realistic, and I'm getting perfect sound right directly from the middle of the speakers. So the sound stage is very expansive, but it's also very, very direct and set up the way it should be. So I was very, very excited about that. There is one particular CD I did want to mention. It is a Norah Jones CD that I've had for quite some time. That CD, I don't know if it was just the way it was manufactured, but that CD does not have good quality sound to it, no matter what system I've played it on. So I actually use that as my test CD as far as how well does the new component I added in, how well does it reproduce the sound. Played it in this one. That CD has sounded the best I have ever heard from those tracks. I ended up listening to the whole CD, which normally I only pick out a couple of songs from that one, and all of the music, all of the songs sound so much better. The best I've ever heard it on any of my setups there. So that is due into a huge part of these amplifiers. Again, when you add in higher end components to your setup, you're going to reach that next level of full potential of whatever it is you have. So my final stage of doing everything was when I actually did bring in my Triton 1R golden ear speakers here. Again, originally I was using I was kind of swapping back and forth between my Triton 5s, and I have older Triton 3 models. They're not the 3 Plus, just the 3s. And those were really good. They did sound great, and that's kind of my speakers that I use in this setup here, just pretty casually. And it's the one I use all the time. But once I brought these over, oh my goodness, it was just a total another level of reaching that higher end quality, that Nirvana sound that we're all looking for out of our systems. And yes, I am going to keep these over here for a while. Now, where I brought them from is I have these as my rear speakers in my theater room. So I swapped out my 5s over there. So lastly here, I just wanted to cover, I did do a comparison with the JC1s and my Emotiva XPA2, both for music and home theater. In music, it didn't come close. But again, these are two totally different amplifiers, different price points, different design and build. So they're essentially built for doing different things. And plus, you're talking about a monoblock versus a 2-channel stereo amplifier. So yeah, the Emotiva did not come close as far as the music capabilities of the Parasound. However, when I swapped it out into the theater room, the Parasound did not shine or outshine the Emotiva amplifiers in there. Now, I will set the stage here. As far as my front stage goes, my front mains and my center, I have 3 Emotiva XPA2s running across there, one on each one of those speakers. And I have them bridged at 1,000 watts each. So when I brought in the Parasound, it's only 400 watts capability. Maybe a little more than that, a little less. I don't know, I haven't tested it. But the Emotiva amplifiers were very dominant in that environment. They were more apparent, they were more direct. The sound on the Parasound was sweeter, it was warmer, it was more neutral, more revealing, but it was a lot lower because 400 watts to the 1,000 watt. Now, I haven't really done any testing, actually I haven't done any testing on the Emotiva if it's really pushing a full 1,000 watts, but it always does push above and beyond any other amplifier that is less than that. So that did lead me to know that the Emotivas are creating a really great home theater environment as far as power and sound if you're into separates for your home theater area. Emotiva, yes, for my home theater. Parasound, unless you're going to run 5 of those and run a full 5.1 channel system, which is going to be very costly, I'm going to keep them over here for music so that I can transport myself to that music Nirvana portal that we're always looking for, right? So having said that, I'm going to end this video now and I'm going to throw some music on. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, coming up after this, I got a couple of music clips if you want to just kind of see these things come alive. Keep in mind, you always want to check things out for yourself in person. It's going to be a totally different experience for you. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next video. Go ahead and leave a comment or any questions you may have below, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. Have a good one.